Tonight only on CBS 12 News, we're learning the town of Jupiter ordered the couple accused of caging their son in an 8x8 unventilated box in their garage to tear down the structure. CBS 12's Stephanie Valderrama is standing by live in West Palm Beach with the developing details. Stephanie?
Yeah, Liz, they say there's no longer any investigative value to the box, and we were actually quite surprised to learn that just days after the Ferreters were arrested by police, the city hit them with that violation to tear down that structure. As we first told you, a contractor hired by the Ferreters to build the box in December told us the family didn't have the right permits for the project. The couple was cited 3 days after they were arrested for the violation. Exclusive video obtained by CBS 12 News shows a demo truck parked in front of the Ferreters' Jupiter home on Saturday. Now, according to the couple's attorney, Nellie King, the Ferreters demolished the structure in their garage to comply with the City of Jupiter's orders. In a statement to CBS 12 News, King says in part, quote, "Any claims this was an effort to destroy evidence represents more disinformation about this family." According to King, all evidence was documented, and she tells CBS 12 News if the Ferreters hadn't torn the box down, they could have been subject to fines by Jupiter code enforcement. Could this be considered destruction of evidence?
I don't think the state is going to have a compelling argument to make in terms of tampering with evidence, because the bottom line is the evidence was there from the time of the arrest.
Patrick McCamey is a former crimes against children and homicide prosecutor turned criminal defense attorney in West Palm Beach. Even though he says this is not an example of evidence tampering, if he were on the case, he'd want the box to have been kept intact. Could this hurt the case?
It could certainly hurt the case in terms of the prosecution, because you've got a piece of valuable critical evidence, which is the basis for the aggravated child abuse and the false imprisonment, that has now been destroyed and doesn't exist.
McCamey tells CBS 12 News preserving the box could have been extremely useful for the prosecution's case. If this indeed proceeds to trial, jurors could have been taken on a field trip to the garage to see the box for themselves.
It's certainly going to be far more persuasive for a jury to actually walk into this chamber, this room, small room where this child was kept, and view it themselves, as opposed to just see a video of it or photographs of it.
So we did reach out to the state attorney's office for comment, and they say they don't comment on pending litigation. We do know that the Ferreters are due back in court later this month.
Neighborhood nightmare. A 34-year-old handyman is charged with murder after the body of a missing 57-year-old Jensen Beach woman is found in a septic tank in her own backyard. The Martin County Sheriff's Office believes that she was killed in her house and then dumped in the cesspool. Following new developments is CBS 12's Treasure Coast reporter Denise Sawyer. Denise?
Now today we have confirmed that the suspect, 34-year-old Keoki Dimich, had his first court appearance here in Martin County. Now the judge issued a $750,000 bond for that second-degree murder count. This as detectives are still working to figure out the motive, as we have been working all day to figure out the relationship between the suspect and the victim.
The night this cell phone video was recorded was when Cynthia Cole was reportedly last seen alive. According to this field case report released by the Martin County Sheriff's Office today, it was February 24th when Cynthia, who went by Cindy, had a night out on the town listening to live music at Jammin' and Jensen. Authorities say a friend of hers began to worry when she had not heard from Cindy for several days. Today, a missing person flyer with her photo is seen outside of her Jensen Beach home on Northeast Skyland Drive. Neighbors stopping by have left posters, flowers, and candles. Just days after detectives dug up Cindy's backyard and found the female's body.
The autopsy is being performed as we speak, so I don't have all the answers. There are clear signs of traumatic injury to the victim, so her death will ultimately be ruled a homicide.
On March 2nd, her friend called 911. Authorities arrived at Cindy's home to find the front door locked, but once inside, deputies found the victim's cell phone, pocketbook, and driver's license, but no sign of 57-year-old Cynthia Cole. According to the sheriff's office, there were no signs of struggle or burglary.
We've seen the lights, we've seen the digging with the Martin County Sheriff detectives. It was scary, it was sad. Like you didn't know what to expect, but you knew there was something wrong because you knew they were targeting in on something in her yard.
Sheriff William Snyder says responding deputies found the shotgun leaning against a wall in what appeared to be the master bedroom. The victim had two handymen. One was Jason Garland, the other Keoki Dimich. Jason told deputies he gave Cindy the shotgun because she said she had felt afraid. Due to concerning circumstances, detectives looked through Cindy's recent phone logs and saw a suspicious text message. Authorities say that message was sent to Keoki Dimich, who was then questioned by authorities.
Well, from the very beginning, the detective who first interviewed him was quite suspicious, was disconcerted with some of his answers.
Sheriff Snyder says that the suspect may face additional charges because detectives are still collecting evidence.
We have our eye on education this morning. Leading up to back to school time in August last year, I spoke with a number of school leaders and counselors who were anticipating a significant need among students for mental health support. Many of them had been remote learning for a year. They were experiencing feelings of isolation, and as we heard from so many parents, spent way too much time in front of screens and on social media. So now, more than halfway through the school year, we wanted to know, how are the kids doing? Are many struggling with mental health issues? So in an effort to answer those very questions, CBS 12 News this morning got a front row seat at an elementary school in West Palm Beach that's working every day to support students' mental health and well-being.
I can't hear you.
If you want to put your finger on the pulse of what's going on with students, spend 15 minutes in the cafeteria. That's a pro tip from behavioral health professional John Hendry at Hope Centennial Elementary.
We understand that behavior has a language, it speaks.
He's showing students how to identify feelings, like if a classmate is sad and how to respond to that.
I tell our teacher.
This role playing, sandwiched in the lunch period, is just one of the tools Principal Lakeisha Nathan says has been critical since students came back to full-time in-person learning.
It did take a toll on them, so we had to reintroduce rules.
From simple things like using your inside voice in the halls to more serious concerns like families squeezed out of their homes by skyrocketing rents. Schools have been helping students cope with a lot this year, and as Hendry said, these issues often speak loudly through students' actions.
A lot of disruptive behavior in the classroom setting, a lot of frustration, not able to socialize with their peers well.
And in extreme cases, violence. The CBS 12 News I-Team obtained records showing that in just the first 5 months of this school year, there have been 6 times as many felony suspensions in Palm Beach County schools than there were in all of the 2019-2020 school year. There's also been a 118% increase in weapons seized and a 35% increase in threat assessments. Hendry tells me they're also seeing extreme stress and fatigue in many students right now, like second grader Liam Williams.
When I'm tired, I don't want to go to school.
Hendry has been mentoring Liam for 2 years as his family battled homelessness and the strain of the pandemic. That relationship, regular free therapy at school, and constant communication with his mom, Antonia Williams, has done wonders for her middle son.
What's the biggest thing you've learned from the counselors here at the school that you've been able to take home?
Just, recognizing where he's at, commending him, asking him about his day, asking how things make him feel. His mind was just open and he was just, I can do this, I can do that. He was talking more. Before he wasn't talking, he was very withdrawn. But when you seek and you go really deep in there, you'll find that pot of gold. And I feel like that's what we found at Hope Centennial. And everybody's a piece of that bucket that we're sharing together.
Principal Nathan is proud of what they've been able to accomplish this year. And she believes this kind of approach is going to be part of what schools do from now on.
I know that we're going in the right direction. I dare say it's ongoing. It's something that I don't think that we will ever be able to go back from pre-pandemic. And so it's just one thing that we need to focus on when we're educating the whole child.
And district leaders tell me the things you just heard, the behavioral challenges. This is happening across the board, K through 12, Matt.
And I think we really want to know here, did you were able to get a feeling of how many of these kids were really taking advantage of the help and counseling?
Yeah, it's a lot. About 4,000 kids are receiving mental health support on school campuses right now. That's about a 25% increase from years past, but it's important to know this big part of that increase is because there are more mental health resources available. So after the Parkland shooting, millions of dollars from the state went to more mental health resources in schools. Plus, Palm Beach County voters approved a referendum to add even more money. So there are more resources, more mental health professionals at the schools, and as you just heard, kids are increasingly looking to them for help.
I still, you don't know though if parents really know that all of those things are out there for those kids. It's still, 4,000 out of 200,000 kids is still only, 2% of kids getting help. There's probably more that need it.
But what's important to know is even if one child needs this help, that's what's important. And the need is there, the need is great, the need is increasing, and amazing to see how these schools are responding.